From the heart of Bed-Stuy, you're listening to We Love Radio.
Doing the yin and the yang, the hip and the hop, the stupid fresh thing, the flippity flop. Oh! I have today's forecast for you. Hot!
Scorching temperatures continue to rise during an intense heat wave in a black majority neighborhood in Brooklyn. The residents do what they can to endure it by dancing to the music, blasting from the radios and boom boxes, as well as taking cold showers, unscrewing fire hydrants, and intimately engaging with ice cubes to cool down. But as sweat drips from people's heads, it is obvious that they can't escape the heat. And they can't stand it either.
You can't stand the heat.
As the temperature escalates, so too does the conflict between different peoples. The heat itself may be representative of the unchangeable nature of the social conditions of lower-class Black Americans. They may find ways to cope and make the most with what they have, but it's ultimately out of their control. On another level, heat reinforces the racial tensions between the different residents, especially between the Black townsfolk and the Italian-American family that runs the neighborhood's beloved pizza joint.
Damn, son, you cheap, man.
Pizzeria owner Sal operates his business with his two sons, the overt racist Pino and the more passive Vito, who is often bullied and pushed around by his older brother. Pizza delivery man Mookie is the only Black person consistently employed by Sal, but he stands on shaky grounds with his boss due to his general tardiness and carelessness at work, though it's often a response to how he's pushed around and treated in general.
I don't pay you good money to have you jerk me around. Now you keep it up, you're gonna end up in the street with the rest of your homeboys.
About time, Pop.
To Sal, the pizzeria is living out the American dream, but to Mookie, it is simply a job he takes and cares so little about. Besides being a way to make ends meet, Mookie has become accustomed to taking advantage of the neighborhood status quo, which is why he denounces Buggin' Out's plans to boycott Sal's. A boycott proposed after experiencing aggressive customer service and taking notice of the lack of Black representation in the pizzeria's wall of fame.
Okay.
Mookie!
So you know I'm still sick.
What?
Come here, no brothers up on the wall.
Man, ask Sal, right?
Sal sees Buggin' Out as causing trouble for the sake of causing trouble, attempting to order him around and decide what he should do with his property. Sal defends himself on the basis of representing his heritage, suggesting he has the right to do what he wants with his property, just as Black people have the right to do whatever they want with theirs.
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do. You can put your brothers and uncles and nieces and nephews, your stepfather, stepmother, whoever you want, see? But this is my pizzeria. American Italians on the wall only.
Property rights is a prominent idea throughout the course of the narrative, especially in the film's climax, as it serves as a point of contention in various scenes.
This ain't about money. I could give a fuck about money. You see this fucking place? I built this fucking place!
Sal prides himself in the property he has managed to sustain, while Pino wants to escape due to the property's location.
I hate this freaking place. I detest it like a sickness.
Three buddies scoff in judgment at the Koreans who own property for business purposes, while doing little to start their own.
A motherfucking year off the motherfucking boat, and they already got a business in our neighborhood. A good business.
Charlie values his expensive car and warns anyone who dares mess with it by getting it wet.
There's gonna be a lot of fucking trouble if you get this car wet.
The police that patrol the neighborhood maintain the city's property rights, such as keeping the fire hydrants closed up, even though it's against the community's interest.
This hydrant better not come back on again, or there's gonna be hell to pay.
The police also see the property they are assigned to as being a waste, given the community that inhabits it.
What a waste.
Radio Raheem treats his boombox as his property, as well as a means of expression, but blasting the boombox in the pizzeria is, at least in Sal's eyes, a violation of his property.
You are disturbing my customers!
Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
Buggin' Out values his shoes as property, and once a white man scuffs them up with his bicycle, he lashes out at him, expanding his proclamation of property rights to extend past his shoes and onto the neighborhood itself.
Who told you to step on my sneakers? Who told you to walk on my side of the block? Who told you to be in my neighborhood?
I own this brownstone.
Who told you to buy a brownstone on my block, in my neighborhood, on my side of the street?
This is also in part his argument for black representation at Sal's Famous, positing that because it resides in a greater black community and they give him the majority of his business, they should have a right to say who is on the wall.
Rarely do I see any American Italians eating in here. All I see is black folks. So since we spend much money here, we do have some say.
Likewise, Raider Raheem feels it is within his right to blast his boombox as loud as it can get, even when inside someone else's place of business.
Gonna tell me, Radio Raheem to turn down my box and shit, man, and didn't even say please.
Feeling that they are not properly respected within their own community, even within someone else's property, the two form a boycott, and bring along Smiley, a man who was bullied by Pino for having a mental impairment. Buggin' Out tries but fails to recruit more people in this boycott, as a community at large are on good terms with Sal, and don't care much about things they deem trivial, like the walls of an Italian-American-owned business.
We don't want nobody in there. Nobody spending good money inside us until we get some black motherfucking pictures on that wall.
Bugging Out, what good is that gonna do, huh?
To them, Buggin' Out and Radio Raheem are just looking to cause trouble, and they ought to just make peace with the established order like everyone else. But the two feel that they ought to fight the power. By insisting on change at Sal's Famous, the goal of the boycott is for the black community to get what they do not currently have: respect and representation, even if the demand infringes on a man's property rights.
You kidding? Here's your boycott. Up your ass, you got a boycott.
Many characters want what they do not currently possess, and it's not limited to property in the legal or social sense either. Pino, for example, wants to move away, for black to be separated from white, so that he in turn gains respect from those he calls friends.
They're not your friends. If they were your friends, they wouldn't laugh at you.
But what can I say? I don't want to be here.
But Pino also has both an inferiority and superiority complex, as his racism is marked by insecurity, as well as a possible desire to be black himself.
You know, deep down inside, I think you wish you were black.
Get the fuck out of here.
Laugh if you want to. You know, your hair is kinkier than mine. What does that mean?
If what Mookie argues is true, then the state of blackness is a property-like quality that Pino wishes to possess, while his father finds solace in living out his dream in a proudly Italian-American business within the predominantly black neighborhood. Though it seems Sal wants blackness in his own way.
Regular slice.
No, I'm gonna make you something special, something very special, if you don't mind.
Yeah? No, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay, what do you want to drink?
Cream soda.
Changed. It used to be root beer. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
I know. I want to change your pace, you know.
Vito, clean off the table for Jade, okay?
Likewise, Mookie has a bit of a possessive relationship with his sister Jade. This is evidently expressed with how he speaks to her after realizing his boss is hitting on her. This is not to suggest that Mookie necessarily treats his sister like property, or that his concerns are entirely misplaced, but still, he does make attempts to strip agency from her and decide what she can do and with who.
Hey, just don't come in Sal's tomorrow, all right?
I'll be back.
And no more pizza either.
To Mookie, Jade is his sister, and the film establishes a loose, unconscious sense of ownership, comparable to property that is to be protected.
Do me a favor, leave Jade alone.
You know, Mookie, not for nothing, but if you were just a little bit taller, I'd kick you right in the ass for what you're thinking.
The film's depictions of women have been subjected to some level of criticism, but I would argue that there is a clear purpose behind the writing. While the women embody stereotypical roles, it is important to acknowledge that just about everyone, regardless of their depth, is caricatured in one way or another. The film suggests individuals may passively fall into the very stereotypes that have unfortunately defined their social groups. Perhaps most objectionable is the treatment of the Korean salesmen, who are given very little screen time and are reduced to unfavorable caricatures without the same level of nuance that the black and Italian characters receive.
20 C energizers?
D, not C, D.
C energizers?
D, motherfucker, D. Learn to speak English first, all right? D.